It's a modest 1955 chapel. And the chapel, interestingly enough, was a community center. So it was the only place that the community was able to meet on the East Campus. On a wish and a dream and a hope and some creative thinking by a number of different parties, we decided that we were going to create a demonstration center. And the demonstration center was intended to demonstrate innovation, technology, and the connection with the community here on the St. Elizabeth's East Campus.
The St. Elizabeth East Campus is a 180-acre site owned by the District of Columbia and was once part of the largest mental health communities in the United States. The hospital, organized in 1855 by social reformer Dorothea Dix and Dr. Charles Nichols, was an example of a mid-19th century movement advocating the humane treatment of the mentally ill. The East Campus was mainly used for agricultural purposes in support of the hospital until the first buildings were constructed in 1902.
It was actually in fairly good shape considering it hadn't been used, and it was our understanding that for several years it had been empty. But there's paint peeling from the walls, it looked like weather had gotten inside some, but it was in pretty good shape, all things considered, but it needed renovation.
We always thought of this building as a kind of embassy for St. Elizabeth's East to the community. The building had many years of community use. A lot of people that we met with had worked at St. Elizabeth's, and this is the first real indoor building that the community can use.
On the exterior, it still exudes you still see the chapel. But when you walk in, it's a completely different entity. It's a completely different atmosphere. So we've been able to keep the historic part of the building, as well as come inside and, it's state of the art. Everything in here is state of the art. So we were able to mix the old with the new and still make it work.
The government didn't really want the inside to stay church-like. They wanted the outside to remain the church and to speak to the community, but they really wanted to convert the inside to this piece of technology that was going to kind of transform the space. In other words, you never want to disregard what came before, but actually use that to propel you into the future. So it's kind of it's melding those two ideas, the historic modernization, which seems like a contradiction in terms, but to me it's a very nice idea.
St. Elizabeth's was impactful for so many people, and much of that history is embodied in its architecture, its distinct architecture. The architecture and the style of buildings you cannot find anywhere else in the District of Columbia, and so while you have to be sensitive to them, they are in fact our greatest assets. Many people don't know what to do with historic buildings, and so by creating RISE, we gave people an idea of what you can do with a campus like St. Elizabeth's.